April 20th, 2023 Fire Advisory Commission meeting. It's 6:01 p.m. We'll call it to order. First thing, approval of minutes from last month's meeting. Everybody had time to look over them.
Make a motion they've been accepted.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. The next business order is election of officers. Commission secretary.
Last meeting, that's Steve's had resigned from that position.
I think Austin has agreed to do it for a couple of meetings. Congratulations, Naomi, got a new kid on the way, so.
I can commit to 3 months. I would like us to find a permanent replacement within that time if possible. We have a new child due October 3rd, so my life is about to get very busy again.
Y'all try to find somebody, or we try.
If you guys have anyone that you know of, we'll take names and those kind of things, and we'll also work on that together with you.
So just put it out to our fire departments, our districts.
Yep.
Any more discussion on that? No more discussion. Next business order is Radio Communications Committee report.
So the radio communication did not meet, but I can give you some information, just continuing to work with both the Newry Dam upgrade, that is progressing. The study for the Seneca Seneca Water Tower is also and requests for frequencies, and also the request for frequencies at the 130 tower. Also, there has been funds requested to get all the equipment that is needed for both of the Salem and the 130 tower in the new budget, now that we know what we're gonna need from those evaluations and beaming them. We beam the information back and forth, so they have all those done, so they know what they're gonna have to have. So that is pretty much where we're at now with the radio stuff. Still working through some other options, again, for some of the smaller towers we talked about for Cleveland and for Long Creek, to work through that process that we're working on also to make that happen. Actually, this week was working on the actual tower itself, because we do have one physical tower that we have to put a base together for the Cleveland area, and then we need that physical tower for the Long Creek one also. They're 75 footers to 100 footers that we're looking at for those. But that is pretty much what we have on the radio committee right now.
Anybody got anything to add to that?
Yes, sir. Other than the fact that, Chief, I have not forgot about checking our areas for you. That's, bear with me.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem at all.
Yes.
It's a work in progress for everybody.
All right. I guess our next order of business, Director Crimes report.
Okay. First thing I wanted to come to you with is, now that it's been submitted and put through the process for the actual 2.9, I wanted to get that to you. That is the funds that are directly related to the volunteer stations, to show that that's not going to change. Understand the budget meeting, there was a request to reduce some of the funding or spending, but that does not affect this 2.9 budget at this time. I wanted to go ahead and get that to you as you move forward. You can see, the fund does grow, but we're trying to spend that on things directly related, to issues like, ERS, or the new reporting system is the better way to put that as it goes through. So what we're using is we're actually using the last known direct amount. As you can see, the actual amount, and that the fund balance has been growing, which is good because when we had to buy the extra tanker that was wrecked that, didn't have enough insurance, that's what that fund balance is for. And then it also actually, allows us to, give quarterly checks and those kind of things out before the tax notice goes. So there has to be a balance in that budget so that we can make sure that you get your checks appropriately, when it comes through before the tax, stuff actually goes out. So that is what that we need to keep that, at least a balance in there. But you've seen it grow. So what we've done is looked at the estimate of our tax and set our budget accordingly for that as we go down through it. So, unfortunately, equipment, to start off is getting more expensive to fix. And so, it had to go up this year. Telecommunications, that again, is also a fund that has to go up as it is our active 911 and those kind of things. And also is our, connectivity that we are trying to work through to GPS in those so that as we build out, we're still in that trial period. Instead of our squads just being at a location, the county with the telecommunications of actually having using a cell service to connect our trucks, it would show them where that truck is in dispatch on the map, so they could send the closest staffed unit. As we build that program out, a lot of you weren't on the commission when we talked about it, over 3 years ago now. The goal would be is if a department staffs a truck with volunteers and they had they would choose what truck they wanted to put this system on. And as we build out the system, I want to make sure it works before I have you go buy equipment. And I'll be honest with you, the first round, it was about $1,800 a truck for the first 2 trucks, and it hasn't worked reliably. And I don't want to go to all the departments and say, hey, spend this money, and it not working. So we're still on that. We're going through a new trial. We have a new communications director, as we know, and we've been working with him and some other options as we try to build that out. Because ultimately, with we don't have people for every single station. Every single station's not staffed. We want to be able to send the people that are needed, but also the closest people, especially to all the increase in medical calls and those kind of things. So that's where that stuff comes from. Your medical and physicals, that line item is actually, for our physicals that we give everyone for stress tests and physicals. That's where that money comes from. The good part about that is, we actually have more people getting their physical. This year, we did more than last year, which means we need more money. And unfortunately, we know that price is gonna go up. Next year, we actually have to go out to bid again and see where we go, as we do and as we go through that. That is only one piece of that puzzle, because there's money in the 10 fund, which is the 2 different funds. One is the Emergency Services Directly Fund, which is the 2.9, and then you have General Fund, which is actually 70,000. I'm sorry, 60,000 in it for the medical physical. So it's not all in the 2.9 fund, and that has gone up also. Of course, maintenance, buildings and grounds, that pays for the substations. They're no longer brand new, and we're finding a lot of new repairs, garage doors, the Boundland Fire Station, different things, or not Boundland Fire Station, I'm sorry, the Westminster Fire Station, any of those buildings and grounds as that money, the burn building, some of those things for maintenance, that's that fund that you see there. And please don't hesitate to stop me and ask if I'm going too fast there. Gas and fuel and oil, of course, we pay for that in the substations, and those that are out there. And so that's all going up, and we were short this year in that fund. Again, the same thing with electricity. We're gonna see a significant jump in that with, the increase of the boundary line station for electricity and, some other things that are coming, that are, rescue buildings and, those things. Water and sewer, we actually, last year, increased that, and then when we actually got our bills in this year, our estimate with all the increases that the cities, and the sewer authority has done, it wasn't as much as we expected, so we're able to reduce that a little bit, to still meet budget, as we go through here. Data processing, $30,000, that's a huge increase, because we haven't ever had it before. We went, or will go from $20,000 for ERS, and we all know ERS is going away. They've already told us theirs is going to be $70,000 to $75,000 for the same thing we pay for presently. So we are shopping around, and we do have some good options. Brady is putting together the evaluations on all that for what we're looking at. He's done a phenomenal job as always, but we still have to pay for it. And that increase is looking at about between 50 and 60,000 is what that new is going to come in at. The catch for that is for the first year, we got to pay for both. We've got to pay for ERS to continue while we build out the contract. So we are in negotiations and working through some of that stuff to try to limit that cost. But at the same time, the money has to be in the budget to keep our data and to make sure we don't lose that data that before we can get it imported and all that. So there's a huge chunk of our increase this year in that $30,000 for data processing. Again, the small equipment, some of that small equipment is the radios for the radio towers and those kind of things, outside of the money that is going to be needed directly for the upfit of the towers themselves, but that is for the actual equipment for the two smaller radio towers that are not part of the bigger program. Small cap radio equipment. So in this year's budget, we've requested a radio programming person, as requested by both the Rescue Commission and the Fire Commission, someone to do that kind of stuff. This money and the money above is going to be the money for the computer, the upfit, the programming, anything that is needed for that as we go into fixing all of the radio in the trucks, any of that programming that is needed. We know that we have to go into a big programming with all of our radios that need to be fixed and updated, which if we bring contractors in, has to be paid for if we don't have somebody to do it as we go through that. We have 100, and the next line of 15,000, we have 120 plus AEDs in our system, and they are starting to age between 12 and 15 years. And a lot of them, every time we send them in, they come back and say, not fixable. And so we want to make sure that we start now before we actually have to have 150 done. This allows us to actually pick out the ones that are used the most or damaged or whatever, and actually get some good cycle in that. But that's only about 15. We figured it's actually 14. We figured that would be 10%, and that some are replaced by the squads and the departments that they purchased over the years, and so that would hopefully we can start that project and then see where it goes from there as we need to update and continue that, as unfortunately our system, we have we have elderly that need that system. And if you've looked at Lamar Hamlin's situation, he was saved by the AED we use. Good, quick CPR. It's important to get people on scene on cardiac arrest. He was actually did a speaking thing for Zoll, and early defibrillation is huge to getting our cardiac arrest, numbers up for those saves, as we see it. Next one is non-capital IT software. That is, going to be replacement of some of the software that we need for the computers for the GPS system. And we hope we don't have to buy a server when that comes in there, but I wanted to make sure that on the software side, that we can do that as we need, and it's also gonna pay for some of the IT, program that we're gonna push information out to the departments, and that kind, of information with. Been in capital expense, that is the continuation of the burn building, training, and those, things that we have. I'm sorry, building capital, I'm sorry, that is the, money that we're putting in there for some of the, paving and those for the substations that we've been trying to do. We did, Whetstone, we put the pad out, they came with no concrete pad out in front of the substations. So that is money in there to actually continue that project if we can get vendors, working on one now to get enough vendors to meet the county requirement for purchasing, to do that. Burn building inspection and repair, inspection and repairs this year did phenomenally well. But it is reaching its time that we have to have an inspection every year. We're burning in it, constantly, and we need to make sure that we, don't do damage. And pretty much our pans and those kind of things that were inspected this year, were recommended to be, replaced, and some of those, and we're still getting quotes and those things. So, wanna make sure that we, if that is a multi-million-dollar building that we do not wanna have to replace. And if we don't have to replace it, we can actually continue to build other props and training capabilities if we, maintain it appropriately. The training facility and equipment upgrade, if you've been to some of the stuff for the IT and stuff in the training room, the projector is weak. We had to put blinds in the back window so that you could see the projector when classes are being done, if they're in the middle of the day, things like that. So, that is, again, we do wanna finish the, flammable liquids pit. If you've been out there at the training center, we have about 35% of the base all done, and all the concrete was done, and then it stopped. And we haven't funded it since. So I wanted to make sure we fund some of those things that allows us to bring those classes in to where more people will take them, because, look at what happened with the rail cars and those things and different things that come through our county all the time. But that gives us those funds for the facilities to actually, build those pans out that never got built and those kind of things as we come through it. You'll see the 10,000 going from 10,000 to 25,000, in the pump test and hose test. Understand, we spent 44,000 between all that this year. So it still does not cover everything. But as the departments know, we were able to cover that cost for everyone this year because of the ability when we did the air pack replacement and some of the refund from that. So our plan is to make up the difference this year, of that, 25 to 44, is there is still some money there that we are going to make that contract so that we can actually continue to do that. And then next year, that money will grow again to try to cover the cost of that so that the departments don't have to pick it up. What I will say there is if there's not enough, because that price goes up again, just like when we talked about doing third-party testing, the difference will have to be picked up by the squads, or the stations, for that, so that we can make that, as we grow that amount and not just do one lump sum, 44,000 for that. As we also know, a good bit of equipment was replaced during that time, a lot less failed. The company actually said our hose was in good shape compared to many counties, which is good news. And then also, we had a lot of extra hose that we don't have to have, and maybe that's a discussion we need to have, is how much extra hose does the station need? Because all that hose has to be tested, and all that hose costs money to sit in the station. Not saying you don't need extra hose, because hose breaks. It's nice to have hose to put back on the truck, and you can dry it and do all that and all that. But what does that hose look like, and how much do we need? Because the vendor was shocked at how much we had. But we're a full county, we're not just a department, being one of those. But, that's possibly a savings we can do to reduce that cost of the hose testing. Of course, gasoline. So specifically, we have had a couple departments that run lots and lots of calls, and this is not set in stone on how this is gonna be done yet. But we know that the county put in a fuel contingency fund for, the county vehicles. And as price shot up, last year at $4, it killed our budget, and we didn't do anything in that budget to help any of the volunteer departments when it skyrockets like that. So basically, that is a fuel contingency fund that we would look at and say, okay, if you ran XYZ number of calls, or whatever that may be for your department, we don't know what that looks like yet. I just wanted to have a line in there so that we have a contingency for fuel, pending, prices going up, we all know that one bad, hurricane coming to the coast of Texas, and all of a sudden our price jumps up $1 a gallon, and we have shortages. So, that is the, fuel contingency, for that, price for both fire and rescue. You can see the grant to independent agencies has not changed, volunteer compensation has not changed, to make a balanced budget pending, no differences in income. Now, what I'll tell you is understand that 1.7448 is, an estimate. I actually believe it's gonna grow our balance, because every year we have exceeded our estimation because of our growth in the county. Every year has been more. But I don't want to go past what our growth has been, so that we don't look at reducing our actual, amount as it comes to that, for that. Second sheet, as you see it, is the breakdown for the station-wise, as we go, and breaking that down, that's what, again, the departments are getting the same as they did in the direct aid as they did last year for their operations of the services they provide. That was very quick, but my number's, available anytime if you actually have any other questions, or if you wanna ask them now. I know you just saw that, those kind of things. So, as you look through that, feel free, now or anytime, please give me a call. I'd be glad to share, any of the information as we built that, as we tried to build this out, for this piece.
The only question I had, and I think you kinda hit on it, was there the line item gasoline and diesel. The gasoline's at 15, you said that was kinda 15 for both, or you just?
Yeah, it's a line, we didn't put it in either one, we can always move it to a diesel. It was just we could have split it half and half.
Yes, sir.
It did not matter. We are very blessed the way, they allow us to do that. If it was needed to be diesel, it would be a fuel, it really needs to be a fuel line, not a
Okay.
gas or diesel.
Okay.
But, we don't have a fuel.
Gotcha.
We don't have a fuel.
That's what I thought you were
One
saying.
department may be gas, one department may be
Right.
diesel, it's not about that.
That's why I just wanna make sure.
Only question I had is on the second page, does the Bounty Land Station, it's gonna take more than what's there,
I'm sorry?
it'll take more than 25,000 to fund it, isn't it?
So no, most of the funding is in the 10 fund for that. That 25,000 is one of the concepts of the Bounty Land Station has always been, there will be volunteers for that station. And there needs to be a fund to actually, buy turnout gear, do that, and give those, even though it's a staff station is what we've, planning on to do. But we all know that three people on a fire truck isn't all you need. And so we want to offer the ability to build a volunteer station that a volunteer group that goes along with all of those stations as we build this out. If it's one person, it's whatever, we have to have money, if it be to buy them turnout gear, to buy them, whatever that looks like outside of the 10 fund, which is designated for direct aid for the paid staff. But that's what, and actually, that's no different than last year. There was actually, that fund was in there, we thought that building would already be built, hey, we have block. It's actually in the ground, so we're actually coming out.
What's the timeline on completion for that?
October timeframe is what we're looking
quick.
at this point.
Awesome.
Hopefully in the next week or so, they'll actually be pouring concrete, so for the
Great.
floor. We're hoping that all that gets done soon. Start actually coming out of the ground more.
Any other discussion on the budget? Moving on to the,
So my second discussion is regarding quarterly checks. So quarterly checks has been a interesting thing. Our goal is to get you the money as soon as possible. But what we've had is a lot of problems with checks going bad, paperwork doesn't get done. So due to audits and finance requirements, what we're going to have to do is when you finish your check off and you get your sheet checked off, if that's done before the 10th of the month, which we turn, or the quarter that we turn all our paperwork in and we make sure that normal checks will be, the check will be cut the next week. So if it's in, Cindy will, the ones that are complete, we will cut that check for. That way we don't have checks sitting in our desk waiting for the department to actually finish their paperwork. And then by the time the check gets given to you, you actually get it put in the bank, it runs out, and the bank goes, hey, we won't cash this check, which means then we have to go back and do that. Part of the problem with that is we have a check that doesn't ever get cashed, and the money officially doesn't get rolled from one budget to the next because the check was already cut, and then it's next year's budget that we cash that check. And so the auditors are running in a circle trying to figure, where this goes, because there's not a direct flow, and we have to explain each one of those transactions. So our goal is to get you your money as quickly as possible, but you get it turned in after the 10th of the month. That Tuesday after the 10th, we turn in that paperwork. Those checks will get cut. If someone doesn't have it, we will cut those. They cut checks every week. Thursday or Friday, the checks are available, but we have to have it in by Tuesday. So anything in before Tuesday, we will be able to cut you pretty much. You'll have it by the end of the week, after the date the paperwork is due on the 10th. So instead of just turning your paperwork in and getting a check, because it won't be cut until that's done and signed off. We're working through a sign-on process. Cindy's been working on a couple things to make sure that we can do that as fast as possible for you. But that's gonna eliminate the problem of these checks running out and us having to get new checks cut, which presently there's 9. Presently there's 9 that we have to look at. And so we wanna make sure that we are due diligence for finance also. It's extra work for them. It's a lot of work come audit time to figure that whole trail out. And so, so that is a change that is going to start happening. So understand, just, give us that little bit of time to get you the actual written check after your paperwork is done. And please share that with your departments, the process, because I know we've done it for so long, but it's gotta change. I just last one is discussion on staffing. We are doing our best to hire people. We are still low staffed. understand, you know, we're trying to work different staffing models to try to keep people and those kind of things. And I've heard people, we keep changing it. Well, we're trying to change to try to make, what we do, which is busy and those kind of things, and especially in the ones that are not 24 hours, that is a little different than a standard fire department, the best option for us in keeping someone or hiring someone. Because one of the issues is, if we can't hire anyone, we can't put anyone out there. And so we need to make sure that we, you know, are trying and the utmost ability to give them a good working environment. One of the reasons why, for safety purposes, we put them together. But on that same token, we are still short, and we know we haven't been in all your stations all the time and as much as we want to be. And I say that we want to be. We want to be full staff so we can serve you and do what is needed for this community, not just the fire departments, because that's why we're all here. We are all here for the citizens of Oconee County, not just the fire department. It said we're here for the fire department's rescue squads and all the citizens, and unfortunately all the patrons that go to the woods and mountains and lakes. And as with Corn Shiloh, we were out there for a jumper off the bridge just the other day. So you know, all those things when it comes to staffing. So we haven't cracked that complete egg yet. We have a lot going on and a lot of things going into that. We hope a good change coming forward, but please understand, we do understand we're not there as much as we want to be, but without the staff, we can't be everywhere. So please just bear with us as we go through this, and you know, Chief's very responsive. If any of you not, he'll get back with you. He may not be able to answer your phone call because I have him tied up somewhere in some meeting, because we do meetings just to do meetings sometimes. But you know, he's been very responsive in you know, getting back to answers and questions and those kind of things.
You know, like the old saying, you can't get blood from a turnip. You can't give people what you don't have.
That's right.
Unfortunately, there's more jobs than there are firemen right now in this state, well, nationwide, so.
Yeah.
Any discussion on any quarterly checks or the? Everybody's good. We'll be moving on to fire chief report.
So I provided each of you a new SOG 202.01, the awards program. Currently, all we do is recognize the firefighter and the responder of the year. And we have a lot of good things that go on throughout the year, both on the fire and rescue squad. And I think we need to try to capture that as much as we can. There's a lot of medical life saves. Scott just talked about it with the AED. And I think we ought to recognize those people at the end of the year at awards program. So this is quite a lengthy SOG, and it explains that, you know, I mean, all of the career, volunteer, municipal, and SPD departments are eligible for all these awards. And really push out to you departments that if they know of an action that happened, let's not wait till November or December, go, yeah, we had something happen back in February, I can't remember exactly where. Go ahead and fill out this nomination form and send it to me, so that we can pull that report, capture that data, get everybody that was on the call that deserves to be recognized, an opportunity to be recognized. And so this policy just kind of lays out the awards, what an individual needs to do to meet the qualification for those awards, and then the committee that will actually select and ensure that the nominations do meet the criteria for each of the awards. And I think this would be a good program for us, for the county to recognize those individuals for their commitment to the community we serve. So, but the very last page is the award nomination form. And if we have any action that is deserving of that, I've already got several that people would call and say, hey, just want you to know that the cardiac arrest y'all ran last week, the individual left the hospital. So I made a note stuck it in a file so that, you know, when we get around to the end of this year, we can recognize those people that went on that call and performed CPR and used the AED and saved a life. And that's meaningful. That person will remember it, but when they walk around with a uniform on and they have a medical life-saving pin on their uniform, everybody else knows now that they've done something good, so. So anyway, you can look through that, if you got any questions, your departments have any questions, you know, give me a call. But I meant to bring this to you last month and forgot to do so that's all I've got.
Any discussion on that? All right. Thank you, Chief Director. We'll move on to the commissioner updates, Region 1.
Nothing to report.
Region 2, only question I got, I didn't get over Terry and them, it's my fault, I slacked behind this month. Mike Carroll was working on the Narcan for the station.
Yes, I know that class was done, for the instructor side of that. And the paperwork is being put together to meet the standard for us to teach all that in-house.
Okay, so, and I think he said he was gonna try to get the Narcan free or through a grant or something.
Yes.
So,
Yep, that's what we're working on.
still working already. That's the only thing I guess. Region 3.
Nothing to report.
Region 4.
Got nothing to report, except we just need to, you know, we meet with my chiefs. They continue to stress, please get us some help, get us some people back in our stations, because we appreciate that. We know that that's a short area down there. We understand you're doing the best you can, but we're still gonna ask, you know, to let you know that we still want them. We want y'all to understand that they were beneficial. You know, I talked last time about, you know, the effects of what it was to have somebody I know need them and not be there. And I know it happens every day, you know, because all these calls we go to, somebody's mama, somebody's daddy, my brother's sister. And it breaks my heart to be at work and get that medical call, no, I ain't got nobody there. And I'm in Greenwood, ain't nothing I can do about it.
So we had one start this week, just going through his orientation program. We got one graduating from a cadet class next week. And we still got some openings. I've instructed the Chief Norris and the battalion chiefs to offer more shifts to part-timers and overtime to try to get staffing for those trucks so that we can be out in those stations more until we can get them filled. So we're doing all we can. I just told them last week, let's see what we can do for overtime until we can get these people through here.
I mean-
So we're doing all we can.
From my perspective, I mean, I appreciate the fact that what y'all do is checking trucks, fuel trucks, all that good stuff. That's sweet, that's nice. Okay, but we can handle some of that stuff as well. What I need is somebody to run that call. You know, that's what I need. That's what these other chiefs were, you know, we met, that was the big topic, was please tell them we want our people back. Okay, so that's all I got to say right there.
All right. Anything else? Need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Adjourn 6:40.